When I was in undergraduate school, I really had a hard time making a decision about a major. And my wonderful mother sent me an article about a new department at Woman's College where she went to school and where I was in school, about this new department for speech and hearing therapy. And I went over and investigated. I was a sophomore, and that was 1964. So I investigated and found this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a speech therapist. Back then we were speech therapists. Now we're speech pathologists. And so I was so excited about the field and learning about it. I went straight through for my master's degree, and I finished in '68. I have always been interested in working with children with developmental disabilities, and of course we had different terms back in those days. And so my first job right out of graduate school was working in an institution for people with cognitive disabilities. And things were very, very different then. But I went there, and ever since then, all 40-some years of my career, I have worked with individuals with severe, profound cognitive disabilities. And of course, that led to working with assistive technology. But we had some ways to get there, because augmentative communication is the part of assistive that uses assistive technology as far as communication services. And we started using other forms of communication rather than speech. And our national association did not accept that well. Speech was the norm. And we were supposed to be speech therapists. But we began doing other forms. And in that day, in Mansfield, Connecticut, they were using sign language for people with developmental disabilities. So we were just down the road a little bit in another facility. So we began to look at different ways to communicate than just verbally. And so that began with the use of sign language. And then from there, it led into using pictures to supplement the communication. And in those days, there were no standard symbol sets. And so there was the Rebus reading program. And that is what we often used as the symbol to represent the word, because these individuals could not read. So that began us looking at augmentative communication. And of course, augmentative communication, one part of it is the technology then that's used to go with it. And so that we finally got around to, back in the late 70s, there was a device came out called the Zygo 16. And it had little lights that could move from space to space to space. And when the person could make the light stop, then that was what they wanted to communicate. And then I was hooked. That did it. I needed to know more about the technology. So that led into the rest of my career, a lot of focus on augmentative communication.